And welcome to a Tale of Four Geeks. So we're back again with our same old goblin model that I started painting in the shading video, and I'm just going to show you some really basic ways of highlighting a model. So basically, highlighting is very simple. All you're doing is applying a lighter shade of colour to the raised areas of a model to give the impression of light shining on the model. So we'll start with the model's skin. Now I base coated this model with Sick Green, and then followed by a Devil in Mud wash. So all I'm going to do for the first level of highlight is actually go over the model again just using the Sick Green, and you'll see that the Devil in Mud has actually dulled down the green colour of the skin. So if you go over it with a highlight of the original base coat, that's a perfect start to your highlighting. Now all I'm doing, as you can see, is picking out the raised areas of the model. So his nose, the cheekbones, the eyebrows, tops of the ears, the lips, and the chin. And I've purposely left the rest of the face, the eyes, some areas of the cheeks, the wrinkles, the creases in his nose. I've purposely left all those areas of the model unhighlighted because those areas are actually in shade. So I'm going to continue this on the rest of the skin. So I'm going to quite carefully highlight each finger, leaving the recesses dark. Pick out the tendons in the back of the hand, along the thumb, the elbow, his knees, and any raised area of muscle on his legs. It's all about just picking out the raised areas and leaving the areas in shadow. Now it's really easy to do that because the wash has already shown you which areas will be in shadow. Wherever the wash settles, that's the bit that you don't want to highlight again. And as you move further away from the areas where the wash has settled, that's where you want to apply the lighter colour as we progress on to lighter shades of highlight. So it's the first level of highlight done on the skin, and you can already see it's really starting to have a nice effect. You can start to pick out the detail in the model rather than just the plain washed skin. So what I've done now is mixed a bit of white in with the green to just give an even lighter colour, and I'm going to go over the same areas again, but I'm going to use even less paint, and I'm going to do even higher areas. So you can see how I've highlighted the top of the nose. I'm going to do an even thinner strip down the centre of that nose in the brighter colour, and you can see it's really starting to pick out the detail, exaggerating the effect of the light, casting shadows on the model's face. Pick out the lips, the tops of the ears again, the cheekbones, again, the fingers, specifically the knuckles. So you can see, simple as that, really nice highlighted effect on the model. All it takes is a little bit of brush control, but if you go nice and slow and have a nice fine brush, I'm using a Citadel fine detail brush for this, but you can use whatever brush you're comfortable with. It's really easy to get a nice highlighted effect. So I'm going to finish off the rest of the highlights, and we'll come back to you at the end. Okay, so as you can see, all I've really done there is highlighted all the areas on the model with two stages of highlight. One with the original base colour over the washed area. I've just highlighted it with just the original base colour, and then I've mixed a really small amount of white and done one extra highlight on all the areas. So you can see on the areas like the bone and stuff, you can really see how it's nicely got now, how you've got a nice gradient from the really dark brown in the shade areas through the kind of bone colour right up to almost white. So all that's left to highlight is the rock on the base, and there's a very easy way of doing this, and it's called dry brushing. Now dry brushing is a very common technique, but a lot of people use it in what I consider to be quite bad ways. A lot of people use it to paint models when they really should be learning how to highlight a model properly. But it is a great technique for things like stonework or bases or whatever. Basically, the principle is all you want to do is get a bit of light coloured paint on your brush. So in this case, we're highlighting the grey, so we want a grey that's very close to white. Rub a bit off either on the back of your hand, like I'm doing there, or on a tissue. I like to use the back of my hand because you can see when the paint starts to run out, and you can see now as I'm brushing there's almost no paint left on my brush. So it's quite clear to see that really all I'm leaving behind is a dusting of paint. And that principle is what you're going to apply to the base. So all you're doing is dusting the raised areas of the model with that white colour. So you're leaving the recesses dark and just picking out the detail at the top. And that is all there is to it. We'll do a second quick highlight on the base. Straight away you can see just catches the raised areas of that base. Gives you a really nice effect like rock. So I'm going to paint the edges of the base black, and we'll leave it at that. So there's the finished article. So yeah, you've seen me follow this process through all the way from the undercoat through the base coat. I did a wash, and I've done a really simple 2 layers of highlights and a couple of stages of dry brushing on the base. And personally, I think that looks like a great tabletop standard model. Thanks for watching.